There's something about INFJs that captivates people at first sight. They seem gentle, kind, mysterious, and endlessly deep. But the closer you get to them, the more you begin to realize that there's something quietly terrifying about them. It's not that they're dangerous or cruel. Far from it. It's the way they see through people, the way they understand things that were never said, the way they can love you with such depth, and then vanish without a trace when they are pushed beyond their limits. In today's video, we're taking a look into the most terrifying things INFJs do naturally, often without even realizing it. Let's get right into it. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Playbook today. The link is in the description of this video. One of the most terrifying things about INFJs is their intuitive accuracy. It's not merely a hunch or guesswork. It's more like a sixth sense. They seem to just know things, often before anyone says a word. You might try to hide what you're feeling, but they'll sense the tension behind your smile, the fatigue behind your jokes, or the pain behind your silence. They pick up micro-expressions, subtle shifts in tone, inconsistencies in your story, and emotional vibrations that others overlook. When they confront you about something you've been carefully concealing, it feels as though they've read your mind. This intuitive power is both fascinating and frightening, because it pierces through facades and dismantles pretense effortlessly. Many people find this level of perception unsettling, especially when they realize that they can't really hide anything from an INFJ for long. Then there's their ability to disappear emotionally long before they physically walk away. When an INFJ reaches a point of emotional exhaustion or betrayal, they don't explode or make scenes. They simply withdraw. One day they are deeply engaged, loving, and attentive. The next, they are cold, distant, and unreachable. The shift is subtle at first, but absolute once it happens. This emotional withdrawal, often called the INFJ door slam, is one of the most chilling experiences anyone can have. It's not anger, it's finality. When an INFJ decides that a relationship is beyond repair, their heart shuts down completely, as if you never existed. It's terrifying because it's done with such serenity. No arguments, no drama, just quiet disappearance, and an emotional void that cannot be reopened. Another terrifying thing about INFJs is their silence. They don't always speak when something is wrong. They don't argue impulsively or voice every emotion that passes through them. Instead, they observe in silence, processing everything internally. You might think you've won an argument or successfully manipulated them, but while you're celebrating, they're piecing together the entire picture in their mind. They notice every contradiction, every false smile, every subtle attempt to gaslight or deceive. And when they finally do speak, it's with devastating precision. They won't yell. They'll calmly articulate your motives, your behavior, and the emotional consequences of your actions, sometimes with such accuracy that you're left speechless. Their words cut deeper than anger ever could, because they speak from deep understanding rather than reaction. INFJs also have a unique ability to reflect people's true selves back at them. When you interact with an INFJ, it often feels as though they hold up a mirror to your soul. They make you confront parts of yourself you've ignored or buried. They do this not through judgment, but through presence. Their empathetic nature invites vulnerability, but in that vulnerability, your truths are exposed, even the ones you'd rather not face. For many, this is terrifying. They find themselves feeling naked in the emotional sense, seen completely, and unable to maintain their carefully constructed masks. INFJs don't mean to strip away your defenses. It just happens naturally in their presence because their energy demands authenticity. Another quietly frightening quality of INFJs is the emotional depth they carry. Their emotions are vast oceans, beautiful, but capable of storms that can drown the unprepared. They feel everything intensely. Joy, pain, betrayal, love, all are magnified within them. They don't just feel their own emotions. They absorb the emotions of everyone around them. It's a heavy burden to carry, but what makes it unsettling is how well they conceal it. You may never realize how much they're suffering or how deeply they've been wounded until one day, they're simply gone. Their ability to endure pain in silence, to hold it in without letting the world see the chaos inside, gives them a mysterious resilience that others can't quite understand. People often underestimate their strength, only to be stunned when the quiet INFJ stands firm against storms that would break most. Their perfectionism can also be terrifying. INFJs are constantly striving for alignment between their inner ideals and the external world. They hold themselves and others to incredibly high standards. While this can inspire those around them, it can also create tension. Their disappointment isn't loud, it's subtle but heavy. When an INFJ loses respect for you, you'll feel in their silence, their distant gaze, their lack of emotional warmth. It's not vindictive. It's simply the consequence of not meeting the moral or emotional integrity they value so deeply. This quiet moral authority can feel like a judgment from the universe itself, especially to those who live without introspection. There's also their powerful emotional memory. They don't just remember what happened. They remember how it felt. The tone of your voice, the look in your eyes, the energy in the room. All of it is stored in vivid emotional detail. When someone betrays them or hurts them, they might forgive outwardly, but internally, they never truly forget. The emotional imprint remains, shaping how they see you forever. This kind of memory makes them both loyal and cautious, loving yet guarded. And when they finally decide to let go, it's not impulsive. It's the result of long, silent observation and internal reasoning. When they're done completely, and there's something chilling about how absolute their endings can be. INFJs also carry an air of mystery that can be intimidating. They are complex, layered beings who rarely show their full selves to anyone. You may think you know them, but what you're seeing is only a fragment of who they are. They reveal themselves in phases, each deeper than the last, and yet even at their most open, they remain partly hidden. This elusiveness can drive people crazy. It's not that they are secretive for the sake of mystery. It's just that their inner world is too vast, too sacred, to expose carelessly. Their detachment, their unpredictability, and their occasional emotional vanishing act make others feel both magnetically drawn and deeply unsettled at the same time. Even the way they transform pain into wisdom is fascinating. What destroys others only deepens them. Every betrayal becomes a lesson. Every heartbreak becomes a piece of their spiritual puzzle. They emerge from emotional wreckage calmer, wiser, and more powerful than before. There's a quiet intensity in how they evolve, a spiritual resilience that makes them untouchable in ways that words can't explain. People who try to break them often end up haunted, not because the INFJ retaliated, but because their quiet strength serves as an unspoken reminder of what true inner power looks like. There's also their quiet detachment from the ordinary. While they may seem deeply compassionate and invested in human connections, INFJs often operate as if they stand slightly outside of reality, watching everything unfold like a scene from a play. They can appear fully present, listening with complete focus, but behind those intense, thoughtful eyes lies a constant awareness that they don't truly belong anywhere. This quiet alienation gives them an almost otherworldly energy. It's not that they're trying to be mysterious. It's that they genuinely live in two worlds. The external, practical one everyone else inhabits, and the inner, abstract realm of ideals, intuition, and vision. When people realize how detached an INFJ truly is, even while appearing deeply connected, it can feel eerie, like loving someone who exists half in the physical world and half in the realm of the unseen. They can emotionally disappear without warning, not as punishment, but as self-preservation. When they reach a point of emotional overload, they vanish into solitude. You won't hear from them, and your messages will go unanswered. It's not an act of revenge, it's survival. They retreat to rebuild themselves, to process the emotional chaos that the world constantly feeds them. Yet what makes this terrifying is that their disappearance is never accompanied by drama or explanation. One moment they're there, warm, attentive, and understanding, and the next they're gone like a ghost fading into mist. Their ability to detach so completely, so peacefully, unsettles people who depend on emotional consistency. It's as if the INFJ carries an internal switch that turns off the entire world. INFJs also have an intimidating level of self-control. In a world where people react impulsively, vent emotions publicly, and chase instant validation, INFJs seem to move on a different frequency. They rarely let emotions control their actions, no matter how intense those emotions are. Even when provoked or deeply hurt, they hold their composure with unnerving grace. They won't argue recklessly, expose your secrets, or lash out in anger. They'll simply retreat into silence, analyze every detail, and respond only when they've understood the situation completely. Their restraint gives them power, because in emotional chaos, the calm one holds the upper hand. That quiet, deliberate calm can terrify people who rely on emotional dominance or drama to control others. Then there's the frightening precision with which INFJs can predict outcomes, not just about people, but about events. They often sense when something is about to fall apart, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, or even a company. They might not know how they know, but they do. Their insights often sound like guesses until they turn out to be true. Many INFJs experience this foresight as both a gift and a burden for those around them. However, it can feel unnerving to be close to someone who just knows when something is wrong, who can quietly warn you about a choice and later be proven right. It's both comforting and haunting. Their intuition bends time in subtle ways, making them seem prophetic without trying. INFJs can easily mirror people's emotional state. They adapt to the energy of a room without effort. If you're angry, they absorb that energy and match it subtly. If you're joyful, they radiate warmth that amplifies your mood. But when you're manipulative, deceptive, or cruel, they reflect that back too, without saying a word. This emotional mirroring is subconscious, yet deeply powerful. It's as if they're holding up a psychic mirror to your soul, forcing you to see yourself through your own actions. Some people can't stand that reflection, especially when they realize the INFJ isn't judging. They're just showing. That kind of emotional reflection can be deeply uncomfortable, even frightening, because it confronts people with their own truth. INFJs are also terrifying in the way they love. Their love is not shallow or fleeting. It's consuming, transformative, and all-encompassing. When they love, they don't love halfway. They pour every ounce of their heart, intuition, and understanding into the person they care for. But the same love that can heal, you can also expose you. Being loved by an INFJ means being truly seen. Your beauty, your flaws, your fears, and your potential. They'll believe in you even when you've stopped believing in yourself. Yet this kind of love demands authenticity, and that's what makes it scary. Because when you can't live up to the honesty and depth they give, you begin to crumble under the weight of their quiet, unwavering sincerity. You realize that you can't hide from them, and that truth either transforms you or drives you away. There's also the INFJ's duality. They embody contradictions effortlessly. They are gentle yet unyielding, warm yet distant, forgiving yet have fierce boundaries. You never quite know which version of them you'll meet. Their personality seems to shift depending on who they're with, not out of falseness, but because they naturally adapt to the emotional needs of the moment. This chameleon-like ability makes them hard to pin down. You might think you understand them one day, only to realize the next that you've barely scratched the surface. That unpredictability gives them a quiet power. It makes them impossible to control or fully understand. And for those who crave control or certainty, this can feel terrifying. INFJs also have a dark side that is rarely visible until provoked. While they are usually kind, forgiving, and composed, they possess an inner steel that surfaces when pushed too far. When they reach their breaking point, they can become shockingly cold, analytical, and detached. The same empathy that once connected them to your feelings disappears entirely. They don't lash out or seek revenge. They simply erase you. And what makes it worse is that they do it without hatred. They simply stop investing energy, stop caring, stop feeling. You go from being seen and cherished to being invisible. This emotional shutdown is absolute, and its quiet finality can leave people shaken long after the INFJ has moved on. There's also their attraction to the darkness in others. They are naturally drawn to wounded souls, to people carrying hidden pain. They see beauty in brokenness, potential in despair. But this sensitivity often makes them magnets for toxicity. And what's truly haunting is how far they'll go to heal someone. They'll pour love into people who cannot love themselves, take on burdens that aren't theirs, and sacrifice their own peace in the process. When they finally awaken to the truth that their empathy is being abused, they don't explode. They quietly rise and walk away, leaving the other person to confront the emptiness they try to fill with manipulation. That silent departure can feel like divine justice, the softest yet most powerful form of reckoning. Another terrifying thing about them is how deeply they understand human darkness, yet refuses to let it make them cruel. They've seen the worst of people, the lies, the betrayal, the hypocrisy, and still choose to love with purity and purpose. The kind of strength, the kind of grace, unsettles people who live in moral gray zones. The INFJ's light doesn't blind, it reveals. And for those who hide behind masks or thrive in manipulation, being truly seen by an INFJ feels like exposure to raw truth, beautiful to some, but unbearable to others. There's something haunting about the way INFJs can sense unspoken motives in others. They don't need proof or evidence. They simply feel it. You can be saying all the right things, smiling at all the right moments, but deep down they'll know when your intentions don't match your energy. They read beneath words, beneath gestures, catching the subtle tremors of dishonesty that others miss. What makes this truly terrifying is how quietly they process it. They won't accuse you immediately. They won't expose you in front of others. They'll simply start withdrawing their trust while still smiling at you. By the time you realize they've seen through you, it's already too late. They won't confront you. They'll let truth reveal itself naturally. That silent discernment makes it nearly impossible to deceive them, and it leaves those with hidden motives deeply unsettled. They also have an unnerving ability to see the hidden potential in others before anyone else does. They look at people not as they are, but as they could become. This gift can be incredibly empowering for those who are ready to grow, but it can also be frightening for those who aren't prepared to face themselves. When an INFJ looks at you, they don't just see your present. They see the version of you you're running from. They speak to the part of you that wants to evolve, that wants to live authentically, and that can feel uncomfortable for those hiding behind ego or fear. It's as if their gaze calls your higher self forward, demanding honesty with who you really are. Some people find that awakening exhilarating. Others find it unbearable and flee from it, unable to handle the mirror they provide.